A federal high court in Lagos has struck out a case against the Central Bank of Nigeria over its directive requiring banks to collect and verify social media handles as part of their Know Your Customer requirement. Now, in June 2023, the Apex Bank issued a directive saying the aim is to prevent financial crime and terrorism, as well as to boost the precision and thoroughness of customer identification. Well, joining me on the program at this time to actually make sense of this is Samson Simeon, is the chief economist at ARC Economics and Data Limited from Abuja. Thank you for your time, Samson.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
All right, Dr. Simeon, let's first start with what exactly KYC. I mean, people hear that word, KYC, know your customer. What it means before we even delve into the issue at hand, talking about if at all social media, should be part of the requirements.
Well, KYC, know your customer or know your client, is a regulatory framework, particularly for financial institutions all over the world. It's not only a Nigerian thing. It's done the world over. And it's done to know exactly the profile of your client or of your customer, and also to mitigate risks when dealing with such a customer or client. Normally, it's just about the name, date of birth, identity card, normally driver's license or national ID card or international passport, and so on, basic things that have been in existence for some time now. However, recently, the central bank is trying to up the ante. They want to be more diligent. They want to know us some more. So they want to go beyond just the things that they have been using for a while now. They want to know other things beyond the things that they have been asking for some time now. So it's within the remit of the monetary authorities, in the case of Nigeria, the central bank now, to impose that regulation on financial institutions. Because if you don't comply, such financial institutions or banks will be punished. So it's a directive from the central bank, and all banks or financial institutions have to follow. And it's for the good of the economy to ensure that financial crimes, money laundering, fraud, terrorism financing, and so on can be mitigated by knowing the type of clients or customers financial institutions have.
I mean, you said quite a number of things. We understand that, of course, it's within, it might just be within the purview of, regulatory institutions and all of that. But there's also the issue of privacy here. Is there a line or limit to this KYC such that at the end of the day, potential customers or customers and clients can still, to some extent, have some level of privacy?
Well, there's a fine line between due diligence that the central bank and by extension Nigerians, and then prying eyes on people. People value their privacy, and they don't want anybody to be prying. And I understand the fears that this particular person that sued the central bank and some civil society organizations threatening to, and other Nigerians, I understand their fears. But we live in a country where recently terrorism and insecurity seem to have seem to be flourishing, and the central bank and the financial institutions want to ensure that they mitigate some of these problems. And what they have been using so far has not really given them the results that they desire. So they want to go beyond what they have been using, the instruments that they've been using, to social media accounts, social media and handles of the clients or customers.
Sorry to interject. You said something that maybe the data they have so far, hasn't given them the required result. I mean, if you have somebody's picture, you have somebody's home address, you have the person's phone numbers, you have what else? Maiden name, you have the mother's maiden name, the father's family name, a compound name, ancestral name, you have all of that. I mean, what else do you want from a customer? How does social media come in here? How does social media further verify anything?
I really understand the fears of Nigerians, and we may not actually get what we're looking for. I remember when the Ministry of Communications, when Dr. Pantami, Professor Pantami was in charge, that day he was trying to connect NIN with NIN and SIM cards, and he stopped telecoms from even getting new clients or customers, and we have not seen the results so far. So I believe, I'm sorry to say, that the authorities are just trying to do trial and error thing, because it may actually not give us the results we're looking for. But there's no harm in exploring all avenues in trying to tackle this problem of insecurity, whether terrorism financing, whether money laundering, whether fraud, and so many other problems that they are trying to find out whether people are involved with using their social media handles. And by the way, it may not just overnight change things for Nigerians, but I'm sure some people will be caught because of these, because social media handles have been added. So it's an opportunity to get some people involved in illicit activities. It may not actually give us what we're looking for. Maybe Nigeria will suddenly become the most secure place on earth because of that. But it will help, I believe, to some extent.
Okay, because I was also about to say that not everyone, is captured even within that social media space. Some people do not even have accounts, on social media. So, I mean, what becomes of individuals like that? That's also another conversation. Are you saying that should this particular directive take effect, are you saying that if I don't have a social media account, I'm not eligible to have a bank account, or I may not be able to have access to my funds, until I open one for myself? So, I mean, there are several hanging questions there, but let's look at the logicality. I know you've tried to actually take us through what the thinking is, but personally, do you think having a person's social media details would add some sort of credence to anything?
I believe it will help. It help in the sense that besides the formal things of giving your name, your date of birth, your mother's maiden name, your national ID, other means of authoritative means of identification. All these are just formal ways of doing things. So some people might, what they do on social media, they might not allow all these things to be there. And I know for the fact that social media sometimes also might not have authentic things, but
Exactly.
I believe they will dig, and there's a possibility of getting some people uh, involved in illicit activities by going through the social media handle. So the jury is still out. I believe that it will help, though nobody's guaranteeing anything. And, if it's a requirement, you're compelled to have. If you don't have it, you have to look for it. Maybe you just open a social media account so that you have something to submit. It doesn't cost you anything for you to have a social media account. So if it's a requirement, you have to provide. Just like utility bill. Some Nigerians don't have utility bills, but they have to find a way of getting such because it's a requirement, or else you may not have access to the services you're looking for. So I know they're trying to explore, like I mentioned earlier on, they want to explore all avenues, and there's no harm in trying. And if they are actually diligent as they should be, I believe that will go a long way in getting some people that use their own finances to do things that they shouldn't be doing.
All right, so let's also talk about the issue of data protection. I mean, personally, for instance, sometimes I get certain messages or get certain calls, from individuals or even corporate organizations. And what question I usually ask is, sorry, how did you get my number? And then at that point, they either get quiet or they say somebody referred you. And then I ask who, and then maybe the person is not categorically able to state why or who gave them the number. So there are also talks around people even trading in people's details. So I mean, how safe do you think people's data is, even with corporate organizations like banks? Do you think they have what it takes to ensure that the data of their customer, because right now they're requesting virtually almost everything, including the social media handle. Do you think the banks truly have the capacity to ensure that customer data is safe? I mean, some of us would agree or attest to the fact that you've gotten calls, either from telemarketing agencies, and then you ask, how did you get my number? And then they use the word someone referred you, and you ask who, and they are not able to disclose who exactly. But you and I might know exactly what is going on. So how safe, are people's data, even in the hands of many of these institutions?
Well, nobody can guarantee anything, but I believe they will be as safe as they can ever be. Of course, hackers may have access to such, but I don't think the banks will willingly offer the data of their customers or clients to third parties for them to do things different from what the purpose for their collecting this data from their clients is meant to be. So if they do that, I don't think they will do it, but perchance you find banks handing your data to a third party, I think it's within your right to sue and claim damages for that. But these are corporate bodies. They are well regulated by the central bank, and the central bank is as forceful as it can ever be. So I don't think anybody will willingly, any bank, any financial institution will willingly sell your data or give out their data. But perchance hackers have access to such data or information. That is also beyond the control of either the central bank or the financial
institution. So how does
accountability
come in situations like this?
Well, should such things happen, there are regulations, there are remedies for such, and should it happen, you can actually report to those banks. You can also complain to the central bank. Things will be done. Nobody is saying that you get exactly what you're looking for. There was a time my money was taken from my account. I took it up with the bank. I couldn't get much. I even reported to central bank, and I couldn't get much. So nobody is saying that because a third party has access to your data, you get a remedy for it, or you get damages for that happening. But I'm sure there are platforms that you can report to and measures to be taken to see if such a thing does not happen again. And if the culprits can be found, such people can be punished for that.
Now, let's broaden the conversation a bit to look at some of the recent economic moves and policies by the Central Bank of Nigeria in particular to boost the Nigerian economy. We've seen, of course, what is going on with the dollar regulation and also the activities of the CBN as regards bureau de change. And right now, we are also seeing issues on crypto, peer-to-peer, and all of that. Directives to boost the value of the naira and also create some sort of confidence, in the country's economic system. How would you rate all of this in recent times so far as an economist? And do you see this yielding, the anticipated results in the nearest future?
I'm sorry to say, I honestly do not see the connection between, I have not seen the evidence, the compelling evidence. What I've seen is basically circumstantial, that trading on cryptocurrency exchanges are responsible for the fall in the value of the naira. There are so many factors involved. And if those exchanges have actually impacted the value of the naira. I'm sorry, I've not seen any compelling evidence. So the central bank has not provided us all the information we need to actually draw a conclusion. And for now, it does not seem to be working because the naira keeps fluctuating in value. At the time, it went to as low as below 1,000 naira to the dollar. Is almost going back to what it was early this year. So it's not actually working. And in my honest opinion, what the central bank is doing with cryptocurrency exchanges is basically cosmetics. We know where the problems are. There are fundamental problems. We have issues with the fundamentals of the economy. The major challenge is oil has been the mainstay of our foreign exchange market. We have been having shortfall in output. We have not been selling as we should, and that has seriously affected us. Instead of us to tackle that problem, we are here saying cryptocurrencies are the problem, and we are trying to, we need to export some more. Nigeria basically exports oil. Oil is responsible for 90% of our foreign exchange earnings. That's where the problem is.
Okay, I mean, you talked about
exports.
cryptocurrency, but one of the reasons that the CBN, is given to, of course, introduce the clampdown across board, particularly when it comes to peer-to-peer, is that, aside, the strength of the naira, it also alleged that some people are using those platforms to finance terrorism and also perpetrate fraud, right? Because they can't be traced, basically. So would you also want to say, to a large extent, they have a point on that?
Well, you see, that's the problem. Central banks around the world, and Nigeria is not an exception, has overarching mandate of price stability. Any other thing is secondary. So why should you be distracted by trying to be the police of the financial institutions or of cryptocurrency exchanges when your primary mandate has not really been achieved? The reason why they set up central banks in the first place, before central banks were set up, money supply tended to be pro-cyclical, thereby exacerbating inflationary pressure and other problems. So central banks were set up to tackle that. You have not done that, and you're busy trying to do the work of EFCC or the Nigerian police of the ICPC. I think that's not within the remit of the central bank. I'm not saying the central bank cannot collaborate with these agencies to have solutions to some of our problems, but that's not the primary remit. That's not within the purview of the central bank. I think the central bank needs to be laser focused about the reason for its existence, and it needs to do that. And if it doesn't do that and it gets distracted by other things that are not within its purview, I think it's undermining itself.
Let's also look at, of course, the issue of the fintechs who seem to have been caught in this particular space. I remember, I think it was last week, when this directive came that many fintechs, or quite a number of them, should not onboard new, well, I call it customers anymore, in order to do some sort of house, cleanup and all of that. While some have said, you know what, it's actually commendable, from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Some are actually saying that maybe because right now the fintechs are becoming a major competitor against, many physical commercial banks. I mean, the big names there. And for that reason, this regulation, I'd just like to know your thoughts on this.
We have this problem, sadly, in Nigeria. We tend to chase shadows. We know where the problems are. I know to tackle the problems is not actually easy. And the central bank is limited in some way. For example, even for its main mandate of price stability, there are other factors that might not be monetary, and which is not really the responsibility of the central bank. And that's why they need to collaborate with fiscal authorities. But stopping fintechs from onboarding customers, I feel we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. In all honesty, we have more important things to do than stopping them from onboarding customers. I feel what we should do is even to encourage them to do some more. And if we want to do any due diligence, onboarding clients will not stop us from doing the due diligence that we need to do. So why should we try to cripple some businesses because we feel like there's a threat there? I think we can take care of the threats or a threat that is there without necessarily making those businesses to be treading water. So I don't really agree with the central bank about that. I feel we're not actually doing the right thing, in my honest professional opinion.
Now, before I let you go, another issue is the issue of taxation. Even though it's on record that Nigeria has one of the lowest tax rate and even collection in the world, many Nigerians are pretty much apprehensive that Nigeria is rapidly, like rolling to become, a tax aggressive nation, because right now it appears like on every single thing you pay taxes. Even the controversial cybersecurity bill that the president actually asked to be suspended. I mean, there was a levy, proposed on that one. I would just like to know your take as an economist on Nigeria's tax system and the strategy proposed, not just by the CBN, even other agencies to generate revenue to run the government. Are we going about it the right way?
Well, we have one of the lowest tax revenue to GDP ratios in the world, and everybody has been trying to draw attention to that. There is a problem, and I agree that we need to augment whatever taxes that we're getting from people. But just like they said of the Taiwo Oyadele Committee, the essence is not to increase the number of taxes. Some of the countries that have a tiny fraction of the number of taxes that we have in Nigeria collect far, far more tax revenue than us. So it's not about imposing this tax, imposing that tax. The few taxes that you have, try to make the most of them. Ensure your tax administration is better. Those people that are not within the tax net, bring them in. Tax evaders, make sure those people are punished for evading taxes. And make sure that the body responsible for collecting tax, in the case of Nigeria, the FIRS, actually does its job the way it is supposed to be done. It's not about imposing additional taxes. Imposing additional taxes will not help us in any way. We have imposed so many taxes over the years. It has not helped. So what makes us to think that is going to be different this time around? And what's the essence of setting up the Taiwo Oyadele Committee when you said you wanted to reduce the number of taxes, just making the few that we can do more efficient? So why imposing more taxes? As much as we want to increase our tax revenue to GDP ratio, there are better ways to do that rather than just increasing the tax rate.
What alternatives would you rather propose as against just tax revenue?
Can you repeat that, please?
What other avenues or alternatives will you propose, or are you proposing, against just generating revenue via tax?
Well, the mainstay, the main government revenue in Nigeria has been mainly from oil over the years. Since Olaibiri in 1956, Nigeria has been shifting towards oil, and we have become over-dependent. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but even what we used to get from oil, because our output has been drastically reduced, oil theft has become industrial, it's been done on a massive scale, and so far we have not really succeeded in tackling that problem. So the government needs to do something. And the survival of our economy, this oil theft is an existential threat to the Nigerian state. It's an existential threat to Nigeria's body politic. So it needs to be tackled as a matter of urgency. And then we need to diversify too. We have been shouting diversify over the years, but nobody has been serious about diversification. We need to diversify our exports. And if we cannot export goods, we can export services. We have a lot of university graduates that are unemployed, and some people need these graduates around the world. And we can be a net exporter of services to the world. So that's another way.
Sorry.
And
I would
also
like to stay on that.
exporters
You
will have
said that we can
competitive
export.
advantage.
I'm sorry. Just for clarity, you said we can export uh, services that are graduates because people need it around the world. How would that work? I mean, we already have a lot of young people, trying to jack by using the word. I mean, the street palace. So, can you please just clarify on that? Is it
All right.
still the same thing as the
I don't know
jackpot
of
we are
any.
seeing?
I don't know. All right. I don't know of any product right now that Nigeria has competitive advantage in producing. But in terms of services, we have many university graduates. Let me cite a real life example. Let me be more specific. I'm from Gombe State. They pay teachers as low as 30,000 naira, people with first degree. And as measly as 30,000 naira is, some people are desperate for that, but they cannot find, and they are wasting away. These are people that are very intelligent. These are people that are well educated. In the United Kingdom, they need teachers. If we feel that we don't need these people, you need political connection to get a job in the Ministry of Education where they pay next to nothing. So why not allow these people to go elsewhere where their services are better appreciated? I'm not encouraging those people that are much needed here in Nigeria to leave. For example, we are struggling with health workers, with nurses. So it's not advisable for us to export those people. But there are other skills too that we have a surfeit of such, and we're not making the most of them. So why not export those skills to the world?
So are
And
you
we're good when it
suggesting,
comes
I'm
to
sorry because you
entertainment.
are pressed for time, are you suggesting that, the government should actually make it part of their, what I call it, marketing proposals when, they're on the international stage that, look, you guys need teachers. We have an abundance of teachers in my country. Open up your borders. Let's bring you teachers.
Why not? If you have a lot of graduates, unemployed graduates, that you cannot make the most of them, and other people need those people, why not? You earn revenue from it, you earn forex from it. It is going to go a long way. So even for the products that I'm complaining, we don't have any competitive edge. Even for items that were the number one producers, cassava, for example, we don't produce enough to consume here, let alone to export. So I would never advise Nigeria to export any good, any food item, because we can hardly feed ourselves. And that's why food inflation is high. But for those things that we have sufficient number, and there are people that need, including labor, teachers. If we can groom teachers and we have more than enough in our schools, why not? Other people need such. Try to start a program. These teachers can go to the UK. The government can encourage that, and the government can take certain percentage from helping them to jackpot, like we say in Nigeria. Why not do that? Anything that we have competitive advantage in. For example, our entertainment, make the most of it. Even for ICT skills, if you have people that are passionate about it and they cannot get the compensation or the satisfaction here, and they are not really appreciated here, if they want to go, why not? Please, by the way, there's a caveat. I'm not encouraging people that are needed here to leave, because when they leave, our industries, those sectors suffer. So I'm not mentioning those ones that are really needed in Nigeria. I'm mentioning those ones that they have the skills, they have the intellect,
And they're in
but they
excess.
don't seem to get their employment here. So and other people, other countries around the world need them. So why can't we export that?
All right, Dr. Samson Simeon, Chief Economist at ARC Economics and Data Limited from Abuja. Thank you for joining me on the conversation.
Thank you for having me.